All right, so let's do our tasting here. We've got our wine and we've got our decadent and insatiable nuts.
Yep, absolutely.
So which one should we try first?
The Insatiable.
The original.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay.
the OG.
So how long were you guys like? You guys were just making these at home for friends, for yourself?
Absolutely. So we were making them for what? I was making them for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people would come over. Like we're coming over to your house right now. I'm like, oh, you know, we throw them into the oven, and we had a little garden where we pulled the rosemary from, and so yeah, and people would come over and just be like, oh my God, these are so good. So what you're gonna taste is rosemary, and then you wait just a little bit, and you'll have a little hint of heat at the end.
Yeah. So what's the kick? Is that like a secret ingredient?
Oh, it's a secret. Yeah. We can't mention anything.
But like, it's never crossed my mind to like take some nuts and put them in the oven and like roast them with anything. So is this like is this a new thing? This is something that like you learn, something that you tried
somebody
once?
just kind of picked up along the way, and
Yeah, I would say when we were living in the city, it kind of became something to do during the winter together. It's like, oh, Saturday night, we're not going out. What should we do? And we're like, let's cook a meal and have some wine. And it just became something as we got older and then couldn't go out because the baby's like, okay, let's, and our meals got a little more complex. First it was kind of like spaghetti, you know? And then it was like, oh, maybe, and then we gradually got to, let's make our own spaghetti. And really just enjoyed the whole process of it because you're not in front of a screen. And then we started experimenting with flavors, and I don't know, I think we found something we were inspired by. We host Christmas Eve every year for our sides of the family, both sides, and it just became something that we enjoyed serving and always got great feedback from.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself like foodies? You like homemade stuff, like you said, like making pasta and that kind of thing?
So I worked for Bon Appetit on the sales side. I was definitely not in the kitchen or any of that. That's very clear. For about 6 years. So I had access to amazing chefs and everything. But one of the things I always said was, I do love great food, but I don't think it means that you have to be at a 4 or 5-star restaurant and Michelin rated and all of that. I think that you can, I remember taking somebody years ago to the best cheeseburger in the city at Mike Dicka's. Like, it doesn't always, you know, it doesn't at the Fridge Burger, right?
I was gonna say, when we went to Napa the first time, right? Like, wine can be very, like, it can be intimidating, right? It's like, oh, you got all these different flavors, and people would talk about tannins, and like, oh my gosh, what are tannins? And then it was like, wait, do you like the wine or not, right? And so it's like, you find that own comfort with wine, and kind of the same thing with food. So I wouldn't say we're foodies, but we love it, and we just kind of gravitate anything with olive oil and garlic, you know, hot olive oil.
You can
like,
smell it, right? And our kids love it, and it's just interesting that they appreciate good food too. As you pass down, we go to the farmers market. We were just out in California. We went to the farmers market there. I brought back all this produce. Everything I ate, I couldn't believe the difference because everything's made and grown right there. It's just so interesting. But so the word foodie, I get a little intimidated by because I think it puts such a label on you, like, oh, you must really like have a good palate. I don't want to say that.
Right. It's like, well, I like food. Yeah,
Right.
I can tell you what I like.
Well, I really appreciate like clean, amazing flavors that don't take a lot of ingredients because you're using the best of the best.
Well, this is really good because I'm not like a spicy person. It's got this like little kick that like just, it's like something about it now. I'm like,
it's like a little event in your mouth.
Yeah,
Which
actually,
would you say it pairs with?
So we're gonna go with the two. So again, kind of going with the theme of wine. You know, they can pair with anything, right? But you know, we'd ask a couple of wine experts, what would you think are you know, that would go really well with? So with the Insatiable, it would be Syrah, which we've opened up here, and then also a Zinfandel would be a nice touch to it. So we figured though with the red, you know, we're gonna do red Syrah, and then we'll get to the white. We wanted to balance out the different flavors.
Very nice. So I didn't see
and
that.
It's funny, Rosanna, you say that. I don't like a lot of spice at all. So when he was experimenting with the intensity and how much of it, I was like, I'm not a good judge because a lot of people like heat.
Yeah.
And but I think it's exactly what you said. Just
it's not
right
intense. It's not overpowering. It's just kind of like this. It's like this little kick at the end where you're like, and now like perfect with the wine too.
And then you're like, I'll have another. And then the next thing you know,
it's an invitation.
Now the bowl is gone. Yeah.
Actually, would you mind passing?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh wait.
I think that's that one.
This
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
This is the decadent.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. Which has been it's amazing how well that can be received as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been a little while since I've had one.
Not me. He brings them home from after making them from the kitchen down in the city, and there's always some extras because he tastes tests to make sure that they're right. You would think that we'd be sick of them. No, I literally pour them in a container, air sealed container, and eat them all the time. It's delicious. I still think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sick of them.
Yeah, I always have, like different kinds of nuts available, and I think it's just like a great snack or like a great supplement. But some of my experiences, I'm trying to think, like usually it's just plain, like just a hodgepodge of like whatever's at Costco. Yeah. But I do have experiences where like you walk by and they have like the roasted cinnamon, it's like this really like pungent almonds, and I don't normally even like get those. I'm just like enticed by. I'm like, oh, like you can do other things to nuts other than like put salt on it. So that's why this is really fun, because it's like this is not. Now that I think about it, it's almost like a chore, kind of boring to be like, I'll have a handful of nuts, and then now this is like, how can I get an excuse to enjoy something that's...
We always say like kind of elevates your happy hour, right? So we're talking about the boards when we walked in and complimenting on the rows that you did, because you're seeing that more and more because people are elevating what they want to serve, and so the Marcona almond that you see that is very popular, or the plain nuts, just isn't working anymore. People want that elevated taste, and I think are expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll throw a board together sometimes, like on a Friday or Saturday night. The kids will get like sandwiches or something plain because we've been busy, and he's like, "I want to do a board," and we'll, same thing, throw some nuts on it. But like, yeah, it's usually like plain pistachios, or we don't even put like chocolate covered anything. We just kind of throw whatever we've got. But these are fun. Yeah, and that's how part of exactly what we're focused on is a charcuterie board, like you're talking about. And it's not an everyday nut, but something to like you said, a happy hour, or you're gonna do a board together. And we designed our packaging, excuse me, to function as a hostess gift and really kind of go into that feel of the board.
So when you're going to somebody's house, instead of stopping by Binny's on the way and feeling like, oh, we just picked something up, which works, right? That's fine. It's the nuts kind of looks like you put a package together and curated this gift for them, so that it's a little more thoughtful than just the bottle. Yeah, the packaging is really cute, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, we'll do the same thing. We'll pick up a bottle of something, but then it kind of feels empty. And so usually I supplement with something, and it's usually like flowers or whatever, but like how great to have like a couple bags of nuts to go with the wine, to open it, put them on the table right away.
We were just talking about that because I was going over to a buddy's house, and it was his birthday, so I'm like, I feel like I should bring something. Bourbon has really become kind of like the man-to-man kind of gift. I'm like, but he has enough. Like, there's no way I could contribute meaningfully to his collection. I'm like, and normally it's like wine or flowers, or like you bring a dessert or so we felt kind of stuck. Like none of those feel like meaningful in certain contexts. So now it's like, all right, this is like a really obvious solution to even that social context. Like I like the word elevate. Let's elevate what it is that we're kind of gifting one another with and enjoying together. Right,
and I love that you don't necessarily have to open it. Right, like sometimes with the flowers. This is how I feel, like, oh gosh, they have to put them in the bottles right away,
now.
Right? As women, we know, because you're usually opening the door and like having that job. Yeah. And the bottle of wine, you're like, no, it can be used for later. You don't have to, but maybe the host feels like they have to. This is like, just enjoy it later and by yourself and when you have a moment. And if they want to add them, that's great. But it doesn't, because it's sealed, it doesn't necessarily have to be enjoyed that moment. And there's no process for them work involved.
Right, the flowers have to go in a vase right away, or the dessert, if you don't eat the tiramisu right now, by tomorrow it's going to be soggy. So, but yeah, the nuts will stay. Now, how long will they stay in that package sealed? Will they stay for a while?
So they're good for 365 days.
Oh, that's a long time.
Got a year shelf life, which is great. And I tell you, as I eat this now again, we love it for a cocktail hour because you get that little heat at the end, but then it makes you want to have a little sip, right? Afterwards, and
a little dangerous.
It's
So this was like kind of the first flavor that you guys experimented with, and then were like gifting to friends and using as you hosted. So then, how long before you moved into this next one?
It was probably 6 months, I think.
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah. So we launched just with Insatiable, and the other thing is when we started the company is we wanted to make it real easy for retailers to say yes to, right? You run out and throw 15 different things at them. It's a hard decision for them to make. Well, which one do I like? Hey, you like it or not? Yes or no, right? Just keep it really black and white. And so people were, the retailers were loving the Insatiable, and so but now we need to add something else. And this is a really interesting story how we came about it.
So I do all the marketing and press and work much more behind the scenes, as Brett talks so passionately about the nuts. And I got a DM on Instagram from somebody and was like, we're looking forward, we'd love to meet you. And it was just as COVID had hit, probably right in, because we were like, are we allowed to come in? Is it in person? That time where everybody was figuring out, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And they were like, sure, just come on in. Okay. And it was definitely not the right fit for, I think they had thought one thing and whatever. So they gave us a tour of their place and
and so then the idea, as we're walking through their warehouse, the idea came up of this black truffle, right? Like, it's elegant. Like, it wasn't on our radar at all, but there was black truffle. It's like, how can we incorporate black truffle into the cashews? Because everybody, black truffle is very definitive flavor. Either people love it or they don't. But the people that love it have actually raved about this, and it's actually I don't want to say outsold, but it's given this one a really good run.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say about it too is I think that because if you have truffle on a pasta, there is such a balance because it can be incredibly overwhelming, and then all of a sudden you're tasting the truffle rather than the pasta, and the pasta should be outstanding as well. So it should be a compliment, and I think Brett's done such a great job having that balance between. We never want to hide the flavor of the nut, and that's why they're not coated with sugar and all that stuff, because that could be any nut, and basically all you're doing is tasting sugar. It really is supposed to enhance the nut and give you that flavor, and so he's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and cashews are an expensive nut to begin with, right? And like you said with coating it, like if you're going to spend a lot of money on a cashew, you want to make sure that you're not hiding that cashew flavor for what's driving people towards it. And so we'll try it. Let's try this. For people who aren't familiar with truffle, it's a garlicky taste.
Have you ever had anything with truffle on it?
Of course.
You have.
Can't you smell it in a restaurant too? When somebody has something, I'm always like, I smell it. It's here somewhere. Somebody's like.
The first time I tried it was in Italy, and I think I was 18. No, I was 21. I think I was just out of college, and I went that summer. And we were in a restaurant, and they're like, and that was everyone's saying, no, you have to have it. You have to have it. It has to be on your pasta or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was not a flavor that I cared for, and I just think it was not done right.
Right.
But it's very good.
So
it's not overpowering at all.
Thank you. And that's what we try to do, is find that balance between the cashew, but like you said, it can be overpowering. But we think we struck a pretty good balance with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so the wine we have, the two wines that we think go really well with it are sparkling wine, which we have here from France, and then also one of our favorites, Pinot Noirs, are going well. We would have done a Pinot Noir, but having the Syrah, we wanted to have a little bit of a balance to it.
It is. You can taste the flavor of the nut perfectly, and you get it right at the beginning, and then you taste the nut after, so it finishes real smooth.
One of the I can still remember this night. So last year, we did we were doing a couple different farmers markets, and that's with COVID, and you had to wear the masks, and you can't see people's expressions, because that's really, I think, one of the things that I really enjoy is watching people try it for the first time, right? And think, oh, how good can a cashew be, right? And it's
right.
Can I really taste it? Yeah.
There's a hesitation, and this guy, so he was masked up, and I could finally do to-go cups, and so you put them in a little cup with the container, and they couldn't eat them on site, so they'd have to take them
my goodness.
off-site.
Walk away, take off your mask.
Welcome to COVID, right? And so he took it, and I talked to him just a little bit, and he walked away, and probably 15 minutes later, he comes up, and he's got the mask on his face, and he's like, oh my God, you cannot see my face right now, but I am like brimming ear to ear. And he's like, I was a former chef, and it reminds me of the first time I ever tried truffle.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. You know, it's like,
a good
and like that impact of food, and like it was a wonderful compliment to begin with, and then you realize, wow, what power food has, and then knowing that we're trying to complement the charcuterie board. We're not trying to take it over, but then, you know, the whole charcuterie board, right? It's for gathering, and it's just.
And as you both talked about, like your story and Rosanna, your memory of truffle, it's like that's it. Food invokes a memory, creates a memory. And Brett always had said when we were talking about the brand of like, I just want to bring joy to people's lives, and that's really what food does. I think in this time, as we talk about like the political environment and everything going on across our worlds, right? It's like, but food is so uniting, and it's something that like if you don't like it, that's okay. You're not offending anybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's no big deal. It's just what you like and what you don't like, and but it's a conversation. And I feel like if you go to events or your kids' school things or whatever there is, and there's people you don't know, when in doubt, you can talk about food and drink, and have a conversation with people, and it's very natural, and that's it, and it opens it up to the next thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like we've always talked about how like food in the kitchen just brings people together,
Right.
Absolutely.
and like that's where we like having people over to just have that hospitality, have that connection. You can casually chat at other places, but when you share a meal like that, I think that's like the next level in the relationship, or even just sharing food and a little bit of drink together. Like there's something very close about that.
And it always happens here, because it doesn't matter if we set that table or if we're out back. Even people will gather out back on the deck, but it's like, it's this counter. We just had celebrated 2 of our kids' birthdays like a few weeks ago, and everyone was just standing around. Everyone had a different drink. Everyone was grazing with guac and salami and all of that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of all together in one space.
You cannot shush them out.
No, you cannot.
Everybody comes back to it.
Yeah.
You just almost have to give into it, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's here.
My mom said, in my next house, I'm just going to be one big kitchen with one
Right.
big island. And we all just stand around, all
That's all we
16
need,
of
no
us.
stools
and then,
or
And you're like, that sounds great, because
That's
we're never
exactly
gonna,
what you need.
We're never going to move. Right.
These flavors are really great,
Yeah,
though.
I mean,
Like,
our compliments on I think taking something that could be relatively uninspired and just like a plain nut, and really adding a lyric to it that is fun is the first word that comes to mind. It's just good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's Brett who cooks.
Come on, nice.
so now, are you in there, like you're cooking, or now have we passed that off? Are people kind of
It's
doing
a
this
little
for you?
combination of both.
Okay.
Right. So I still it's something that I don't ever want to not take my hands off of and be a part of. But we do have a third party manufacturer who's helping us cook and package as well. So still have that oversight and want to be intimately involved, and I'll never probably give that up. But yeah, we do have some great friend that's that's helping us out.
That's great.
Awesome. All right, so let's give a quick plug. If someone is interested, like they're they apparently really like these nuts, where can I get some? Where can folks pick this up at?
My gosh, so first off, you can go to our website, B's Gourmet Nuts. That's bsgourmetnuts.com. And then retail-wise, we're in 26 states, 140 stores. Here within Chicago, we're north suburbs, western suburbs, downtown. My gosh, it's in Plum Market down in the city.
Paulina Market. I mean, it's really
Paulina
across the
Market.
wide. But on our website, we have retail locations. So if you're looking for
That's
something
a
too,
much better way to say
you
it.
can just plug in the location, because we are across the United States as well.
That's great. Before, haven't you?
That's awesome. All right, we'll put a link in the description below, so we highly encourage everyone to check this out. This is good.
Yeah, elevate your nuts. That's for sure.
That's a great tagline.
No BS on these nuts.
Trust me, I've had lots of that, especially with our 15-year-old.
So I did ask Rosanna in advance how many nut puns we were permitted during the recording.
Wow.
So
I mean,
there's the first one.
There's the first one, and I nailed it.